Okay. Hello, today we have another edition of Monco Bible Fellowship's Publicity Ministry Forum for Fellowship, F4F. And today we are talking about love with our couple, Albert and Patrice Davis. And so they're just going to share a little bit about their relationship and love and marriage and everything that they desire to share. So Albert and Patrice, welcome.
Hey, how you doing, Monco? How you doing, Sister Linda? How you doing, Monco?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for agreeing to join us today and for doing this interview. So I guess the first question I wanted to ask you all is how long have you all been married?
7 years, 7.5.
Okay. All right. And then also, well, I'll start with you, Albert. What attracted you to Patrice? What made, when you saw her, what, or as you got to know her, what made you say, I think I would like this lady to be my wife?
So that's interesting enough that you said that, and you wanted to start with me, since I can be a kind of long-winded. I would prefer, and I don't want to exaggerate, I would prefer for my mannequin wife, look at her, for her to be able to touch base on this first. And then I'll clean up anything that I find is a little bit.
He's saying that because I pursued him. That's
Oh.
Hey.
Okay. All right. Okay. Maybe I should have started with Patrice. So,
Linda, you know.
So we met doing ministry in New York, and we were both serving on a food line at the New York City Rescue Mission on Thanksgiving, serving the homeless. And he was with a men's ministry, I was with a women's ministry, and he just stood out to me. He was doing his job. We didn't really talk much at all, I don't think, really, the first time that we saw each other. But he just stood out to me because I saw that he was focused on doing the Lord's work, and he wasn't really entertained by the other women or the other things that were going on at the place where we were at.
okay. All right. And
Okay.
He looks good too.
So let me spice this up a little bit, because I'm from Jamaica, the island, so we didn't have much entertainment, so we became good storytellers.
Okay.
Over the years, okay. So the setting, and it was New York Rescue Mission. This is the second oldest mission in New York City, and they were having a celebrity fundraising donation, like Thanksgiving special. Patrice, her ministry was coming from all the way upstate New York. What's that? Poughkeepsie, Garrison, New York. That's way up top. And we were, my ministry was located in Brooklyn. And so literally it was actually 2 blocks away from where Biggie Smalls, the rapper.
Okay.
Where he lived at. He lived on St. James, and we was on Clinton, Washington. And so that's how we met. That's the backdrop right there. That's the initial, the first time that we saw each other.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. So, so from there, and as you developed your relationship, so now that Patrice shared what attracted you to her, what attracted you to Patrice? What made you decide that I would like to marry this lady?
Her confidence in herself, her confidence in the Lord, her ability, her pursuit. You guys probably all heard of that Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith, and well, it was Patrice had a pursuit of happiness also, where she was constantly seeking the Lord to for her next step and for the way to go about reaching out to me, and I never really had a woman that consistent in Christ in pursuing a relationship, and she didn't want to kind of squander it by just doing things out of her own flesh or out of off of looks basis or feelings or whatever. She really sought the Lord in the direction to go and how to go about it. And then, so that in and of itself, because there's many beautiful women out there, there's many nice, good people in life, but when you find virtue and a person loves the Lord more than their own flesh, and that right there was very attractive. And my mannequin wife is a beautiful woman too. Look, she just sits there. And look, I can give her a kiss all the time. Look, come on, look at that. Did you see that, guys? Did you see that, guys?
And one thing for, what we met doing ministry, and that was the biggest thing that stood out with Albert to me, was just his humility and his love for needy people. He would stoop down to, I shouldn't say stoop down to their level, because that's being over top of needy people.
Meet people.
Yeah, he met people where they were at. And, he'd take off a pair of his shoes for somebody who didn't have shoes on the street, literally. He'd sit down next to somebody sitting on the stoop and give them a hug, and they hadn't showered or bathed in weeks. So I just saw his heart for hurting people, and I had that same heart of compassion.
Okay, like that. Okay, so so that's how you guys met and what drew you to each other. So now you're married, you get together, you get married, you have your wedding. So now that you're married, what was something that pleasantly surprised you about being married?
I mean, like the good, pleasantly surprised, would be, it was, we were in a long distance relationship up until we got married. So we only saw each other once every few weekends. I would travel to New York or he would travel to Pennsylvania. So it was nice being able to wake up in the morning together and just, not have to take 5 trains to get to see each other.
Right.
Hey, Sister Lynn, I want to make sure that I put this in there though. Us having a long distance relationship, that was the initial backdrop, but it was per se by choice after we started dating, because it wouldn't have been that hard for her to move to New York where I was at, or for me to move to Pennsylvania, but to keep the virtue and to keep the commitment to the Lord first and foremost. And so we decided not to play those games, and this is very important. Do not edit this part out. We don't want the people who's going to see this that's not married yet, or that's engaged, or that's planning on being married, or whatever, or that's coming up in future endeavors. Don't squander your blessings by having premarital relations just because you know that, okay, me and this person, we are potentially going to be married. It's okay to have courtship, to have accountability, and to be able to still fellowship and have time with each other in ways in which that it's not sexual, because this is the reason why our foundation is solidified on Christ, and we can work through things when those things are not, you know what I'm saying, central. Those things are not central. So that's part of the big reason why we chose to keep our distance.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for sharing that. All right, and okay, and also, so on the other hand, what were some of the challenges about being married that also surprised you that maybe you didn't expect or kind of took you off guard, or maybe you thought, "Oh, I didn't know it was going to be like this."
You may have to edit this one though.
For
She
me,
she better go first.
it's the same. It's very similar to what I shared was the good. So we had a long distance relationship and we didn't see each other much. And then we went to being able to see each other every day and waking up every day. So that was a great thing of being not having to travel to see each other. But on the same time, that was a challenging thing. When you go from not living together to living together, it's a big eye opener in really getting to know the other person. We're two different individuals. He has his ways about him, I have my ways about me, and now we no longer are just like talking on the phone. I miss you. Oh, baby, I miss you so much. I can't wait to see you. Now we see each other 24/7, and the flaws, each other's flaws, come out once you're living together. Whereas prior to that, you don't see them as much.
Right.
So that was challenging.
Yeah.
Okay, for me now, first wait, look into my eyes. Mannequin challenge. All right. So for me now, it was when I came up here, Patrice was the only person that I knew in this area. And so she had a job where a home health aide, where she lived in someone's home for 5 nights
Wow.
per week.
Okay.
Was it 4 nights or 5 nights? 4 nights, 5 days, 5 whole days, 4 whole nights out of the 7-day week. And so me coming home from work and I'm just being by myself, me getting up, waking up, going, and I'm like, wait up, I didn't get married to come to Pennsylvania to come sit in an empty house with me. This is prior to having the children, and to me just sitting in an empty house by myself. Lord, what happened? Why did you? Is this how it's marriage is? Is this what I'm supposed to be able to embrace and endure? And then he reminded me. He said, I prepared you in the long distance relationship, in through the missions field when she was away for 3 months or so. I was away for 3 months on the missions field doing the jobs at the time. You know what I'm saying? So on different stints also. So these things we were prepared for, but no amount of preparation doesn't amount to the feelings that you get. Your feelings, you're not supposed to suppress your feelings, but I didn't know how to channel it. Well, no, pardon me. I did know how to channel it, and that's why we were able to overcome that season in our life because we had the preparation. But it was at times it felt overwhelming. But the Lord said He would not give you anything that is overwhelming that you cannot bear or endure. So, and then in part, I thank God for finding a home like Monco to fellowship and have brethren and sister and what I'm saying, to be able to relate and communicate with and fellowship with when per se my wife or myself is at work or we're busy or whatever the case might be.
You both shared about how much what a role God is in your life and in your in your ministry, and actually it's what attracted you to each other. I don't know if you want to just speak specifically to kind of what role do you see God playing in your marriage? You kind of hinted to or mentioned, alluded to some of it, but what role does God play in your marriage, and what role would you say God plays in marriage, and your faith, your individual faith?
We're going to brainstorm this one, and then we're going to throw word for word out. Foundation, first rule.
It's like our common denominator. Like I think in any marriage, you have a man and you have a woman. We have a lot of differences, right?
Period.
And then going further in our relationship, we have cultural differences.
Big time.
We grew up in different backgrounds. He grew up in the city. I grew up in the suburbs. Just different lifestyles that we came from. So when in the areas that we don't have in common, which can be challenges for us to come to agreement on certain things, God, when we are like-minded, when we are seeking the Lord, God shows up and he can be that common denominator. And he can be what we have in common for those things that we don't have in common.
Well said.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Okay. And
What she's saying, and it covers all the bases, and then we're gonna use the scripture to seal it, to solidify it. Eye has not seen, ears has not heard, nor has it entered into the heart of man the things
That
God
has prepared for those who love him.
right. And that was prior to meeting her, and that was prior to meeting me. And then we came together on the same note, on the same page, and that was like, wow. And we still use that as a launching pad, as a foundational pad, as
I used to write him little love notes, but they would be scriptures.
okay. Okay.
That was one of them that I gave to him. Because we would see each other, that when we met, we kept running into each other in New York City at different missions events.
prior to dating.
Events. Yeah.
Okay.
But I liked him, so I would as we were leaving, I would hand him a little card with a scripture written on it. That was my way.
But tell her, all right, that just reminded me of the real part of the real reason why I said, all right, you know what? Not to sound no other way than what it really was, to be God honest, truth, and transparent. I said, I'm gonna let my guards down also and allow this thing to develop. So let me see what she's talking about. Because she told me that she had, well, one of her friends reached out to me and mailed, all right, I want her to say it out of her mouth because
we were both doing ministry and we both weren't really focusing on dating. We were both focusing on seeking the Lord and
Gage cousin sending Ashley, you sending mailing the letter to me through her.
I gave that letter to you.
You gave that after 8 months. After 8 months, you held.
So I wrote him a letter.
The first day she met me. Held it for 8 months.
I met him. I wrote him a letter after I liked him, and it was basically expressing how I felt about him. But I didn't feel that it was the time to give it to him because I didn't feel that I should pursue dating at that time. I was trying to change my life. I was trying to develop a relationship with Jesus Christ, and that was my first and foremost. And that was his at the time too. So I really didn't want that distraction, even though I did in my flesh, but I didn't because I was seeking the Lord. So I wrote him this long letter, and at the end of it, I just said to myself, and I said to God, I'm gonna hold on to this letter until I'm at the point where I am ready to date, and if I happen to see him again at that time, because we weren't talking, we didn't have each other's phone number, we just kept running into each other, doing different missions, ministry events in the city. And I said, if I happen to see him when I am ready, I'll give him this letter. So I put it in my wallet, and about 8 months later, I did see him. And I ended up being able to give him the letter 8 months later. So I held on to that letter for 8 months.
Oh, wow.
I had my phone number in it, and then I think he called me.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Right? Compliment?
More or less. That was kind of pressure. She's trying to pressure me, guys. She said, right? Right? That's how, well.
That's how it went.
Yes. This is not, guys. Not careful, guys. I'm joking. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good.
This is a scripture that we both were standing on at the beginning of our relationship. And
Okay.
it pops up and we use it to this day.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay.
Just
Okay.
the promises that God gave to our marriage. I have not seen, ear has not heard, nor has it entered into the heart of man, the things that God has prepared for those who love him. And I think it's a wonderful scripture for marriage because sometimes you don't see it, but God has more than we can see prepared for us.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. But those are the main questions that I had. Is there anything else that you would like to share or, add or add about marriage or anything? Anything else that you'd
Yes,
like to share?
yes. This is for the mature Christian man and woman. To just let you know that being married doesn't mean that. And why I say mature, because the content in which that I speak about is a relational and a sexual content, and I wouldn't get explicit, I won't do that. But being married doesn't mean the other person is you're my possession. I'm not her possession, she's not my possession. We comfort each other intimately and for our benefit and for pleasure and for Christ. As we do that, we have to be mindful that the person, the other individual, is not a property, is not your property. And I think that a lot of I only get to speak from a man's perspective, and then a lot of young men, a lot of older men, a lot of seasoned men. Sometimes we can feel like, oh, woman, you're obligated to do X, Y, Z because we're married. And nothing don't go like that. Nothing don't go. It says man submit to woman, woman submit to man, as we both submit to Christ. And so, like I said, it's for the more mature audience, Christians, but also the mature men and women should be explaining these things to the younger men and women because they need to know these things to not get into a marriage because you have a child or because you just want to have a partner or spouse that you can have relations with, and there's more to it than that. You have to have your foundation built and centered around Christ and be able to develop those things and cultivate them. And because when those intimate times are not there, you'll go crazy if you don't have something to cling on to, and that's just not what it's all about. So those things need to be said.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, Albert and Patrice, thank you so much for opening up and sharing about your marriage and your courtship and your relationship, and just pray that God continues to bless your marriage and just use it really mightily for his kingdom, and that in you, even in your ministry, that he continues to use you.